I'm the owner now." Those words echoed through the 911 call screamed by the HOA president while she stood on my porch claiming my Lakeside cabin as her own. The deputy looked at her papers, then at me, and told me to leave. 30 years of ownership erased in front of my neighbors who just stood there recording on their phones, treating my humiliation like a show. I had just driven up the gravel driveway, the same one I'd driven 1,000 times before. Leaves turning gold in late September mountain air, sharp and clean. My daughter Emma had just graduated nursing school and I'd been in Portland celebrating her big moment. I thought I was coming home to peace to the same cabin my late wife and I built with our own hands back in '92. Instead, I walked up those familiar steps, slid my key into the lock, and nothing. Wouldn't turn. Wouldn't even catch. Then I heard her voice, cold and smug. "You can stop trying, Patrick. That lock's been changed." I turned, and there she was. Catherine Stewart, president of the Silver Creek HOA Arms. Folded a smirk stretched across her face like she'd been rehearsing it. She pulled out a folded paper and waved it like a trophy. Per Bylaw 12.4. Failure to maintain assessment payments results in forfeiture of property. As of September 1st, this cabin belongs to the association. I'm the legal owner now. I almost laughed, thinking it had to be a joke. 30 years, every fee paid on time, every receipt saved. I told her so, but she just shrugged, Shrugged and said, "Not my problem if you don't check your mail." Then she dialed 911, telling the operator there was a man trying to break into her house. My house. When the deputy arrived, I handed him my original deed from 1992, my name in black and white. He studied it, but then looked at her official deed complete with county seal and notary signature. It looked legitimate. Too legitimate. He finally said, "Sir, this is a civil dispute. You'll have to leave." My throat burned, but I swallowed it down. He rested his hand on his belt. I knew pushing would land me in cuffs, so I walked to my truck neighbors filming me feeling like I'd lost everything. On the porch were boxes already packed with my belongings labeled in Catherine's handwriting. Removed per bylaw 12.4. She'd been planning this for weeks. I loaded those boxes into my truck, and as I lifted the last one, something small slipped from the pocket of my jacket. A red USB drive label scratched SCS4PB password unknown. I didn't put it there, someone else had. That night I sat in a diner booth across from Fisher, a lawyer recommended by a friend. He looked at the deed and shook his head. "This is fake. Amateur, actually. We'll file for a restraining order Monday." For the first time all day, I exhaled. But the USB, that haunted me. Why was it hidden in my stuff? Who left it? The next few days were hell. Letters from Catherine's lawyer demanding thousands in fake fees invoices for services I never authorized. A county inspector at my cabin thanks to an anonymous complaint. 3 hours wasted while he measured my deck, finding nothing wrong. It wasn't about violations, it was about intimidation. And it was working. I sat in my truck one night staring at my cabin from the road. I asked myself if it was even worth fighting. 30 years of memories, but was I clinging to something I couldn't save? Maybe Catherine was right. Maybe I had missed a notice. Maybe I was the fool. For the first time, I thought about walking away. But then I looked at that red USB again. My wife's name didn't open it. My daughter's name didn't either. I typed in the words I'd seen scrawled on the boxes removed per bylaw 12.4. Access granted. Folders bloomed across the screen. Audio files, bank statements, emails. My hands shook as I clicked. And then I heard her voice. Catherine's voice, clear as day. "Marcus, I can guarantee the board vote. 15% of gross $340,000 commission." "Marcus," her lawyer replied, "that's the projection." Catherine laughed. "No one audits. You control the books." My stomach dropped. This wasn't about me or my cabin. It was about embezzlement fraud control, and someone inside had been recording her for years. I went to court, with Fisher with Dr. Warren, a forensic examiner. He pointed out the fake notary signature, the mismatched paper stock, the photocopied seal. Fraud, plain and simple. The judge ordered Catherine to return my cabin immediately. For a brief moment, I thought it was over. It wasn't. Flyers appeared accusing me of lowering neighborhood standards, fake reviews online trashing my old business. And one morning I opened my mailbox to find a photograph of me with Emma at her graduation. Below it, a note. "Your daughter has a bright future. It would be unfortunate if anything complicated her career." My blood ran cold. She was threatening Emma. That was it. I couldn't just defend myself anymore. I had to take her down. When Margaret, the HOA secretary, resigned, I filed to run for her seat. Against everyone's advice, I campaigned door to door. I promised transparency, audits, accountability. The election came down to a single vote, 49 to 48. I won. At the very first meeting, I motioned to investigate ownership of Silver Creek Lake. Turns out, the HOA never legally owned it. It was orphan property since the 80s, which meant Catherine's development plans, the big payday she and Marcus were counting on, were built on lies. With signatures from neighbors, we moved to place the lake under environmental protection, forever safe from her schemes. But I wasn't done. At the next board meeting, live-streamed to the entire community, I stood up with my laptop. The room packed with 150 residents, dozens more watching online. Catherine sat at the head table, smug as ever, ready to swat me down with procedure. I played the first audio file. Her voice filled the speakers. 15% of gross Marcus. No one audits. Gasps rippled across the room. I showed bank statements, $178,000, routed through a fake company called Silver Creek Services, spent on groceries, salons, car payments. I showed her handwriting, practicing forged signatures. She tried to speak, but her lawyer Marcus stood up in the back, pale as a ghost. "I'm done," he muttered, and walked out. Left her standing alone. Then Margaret rose from the front row. "It was me," she said. "I recorded everything. You tried to frame me, Catherine. You were going to blame me when it all fell apart. So I made sure I had proof." She pulled out printouts of emails, invoices, drafts Catherine had left on her computer. 3 years of evidence. The room erupted shouts. Disbelief, betrayal. Catherine's mask cracked. Her hands trembled. She pulled out her phone, dialed 911 in front of everyone, and screamed into the receiver. "Yes, send police. He's harassing me. I'm the owner now. I control this place. It's mine." 400 people were watching the live stream. She kept screaming, voice rising. "I'm the owner. It's mine," until Deputy Anderson walked calmly up the aisle. The same deputy who had forced me out of my cabin weeks earlier. He looked at her, still clutching the phone, tears running down her face. "Ma'am, I need you to step outside with me." And just like that, she was led out in front of everyone. The board voted unanimously to remove her from power and turn over every scrap of evidence to the district attorney. That was the night it ended. The night Catherine Stewart, the woman who had tried to erase my life, screamed into a 911 call that she was the owner, while hundreds of people watched her lose everything. And the lesson power built on lies will always collapse loud, messy, and for everyone to see.